The Great Awakening birthed the non-denominational movement, but is it really what we think it is? That's what we're talking about today on The Kingdom Order.
Are you ready to rise and shine? Unlock your purpose, it's your time. So stand tall, embrace your calling, give it your all. Conversations that lift and inspire, challenge the heart and set souls on fire. Leadership, faith, and gifts from above, walking in truth, empowered in love. Teach, man, teach, do it together. We're stronger in unity now and forever. Teach, man, teach, we rise as one. Walk with authority, it's just begun. In divine alignment, we take our stand. With God's power, let's heal this land. Teach, man, teach, do it together. We're stronger in unity now and forever. Teach, man, teach, we rise as one. Walk with the kingdom, authority is just begun.
Welcome to The Kingdom Order. I am your host, Dr. Deweylla.
And I'm Dr. Kevin.
And we are back with the final part of the series, Denominational Damage.
Yeah.
So go ahead and you know what to do. Hit that like, subscribe, notification bell, all of the good things. And we're going to get into this today because this is the climax of the entire series that we've been waiting to get to. Remember, I told you, I believe in part 1, I said, if we ain't hit on your road yet, don't worry, we coming.
We coming down your street. As one of my favorite pastors would say.
Right.
I'm coming down your street. So,
don't worry. We gonna get there.
We getting there. We get there. So also I want to ask something real quick in there.
Sure.
If you have not yet subscribed to Spirit of Truth Ministries, because I know a lot of people are watching the videos, but are not liking and not subscribing. So we want to get those algorithms up. So please go ahead. Make sure you like that. Make sure you, most of all, you subscribe to this ministry because we have a lot more great content other than just the Kingdom Order.
Absolutely.
We have other things that I'm pretty sure you'll like and enjoy as well. So make sure you go ahead and subscribe to our channel.
Absolutely. On another note, I do get the people who don't subscribe.
Yeah.
You know, you do have those trollers from time to time, but you also have those people who are just kind of observing and watching, because when I think about subscribing, it's kind of still along the lines of what we talked about when we look at people who are quick to join a ministry or quick to join a church. So I get it, because they're like, well, maybe I don't subscribe to their doctrine.
Right.
Well, we actually don't have a doctrine. We just
that.
follow the law.
That's
we just
it.
follow the word. We follow the Constitution, which is the Bible.
That's it. Plain and simple. So, but yeah, I was noticing some of the videos, we have quite a few views, but the likes weren't there, and the subscribers, it's been steady now for about a couple months, but I know a lot of people watch, and it's like you said, it's those people who just monitor.
It's monitoring, or they're trying to see, what is it that they truly believe. And we're going to get into that. We're going to talk about that even more, because it's kind of like, especially with this particular wrapping up that we're doing with this series, because it's kind of like, okay, well, they're discussing all these different, sections and groups of Christianity. So what is it that they believe? Who are they? What do, and so we're going to get into that.
Yeah, it's going to be great. So
absolutely.
Like I said, last time there's like so many denominations that we can't do them all. And so it would take, literally, I counted it the other day, and I was talking about it.
It's ridiculous.
It would take us literally 2 full seasons to go through all the denominations. And that's just doing the main ones with the little sects and stuff in there.
Right.
But it's just too much to put in all of that. So I think we did a good job with just these 8 episodes to covering this. So let's get
absolutely.
into it.
So absolutely. So our focus with this, of course, the title today is Non-Denominationalism. Is it independent, or is it just another denomination? And so our focus is a kingdom-based call to come out of these religious systems into true discipleship. Okay. The Kingdom of Yah is not Baptist. It's not Adventist. It's not Pentecostal. It's not Catholic. It is simply following the way. And a lot of people will say, the early Christians and early Christianity and early. And when you talk about that, you're really talking about a time period after, the death of Yahushua, after he ascended. You're talking about a time period after the temple was destroyed in 70 AD, when these councils began to get together and make decisions on how they were going to incorporate the Greeks.
Right. Man.
And that's how all of this stuff happened with the divisions and the the scripture that we have read for the last couple of episodes in Romans, where it talks about beware of those who bring divisions among you. Again, you would say that we were the one bringing division. But I ask you this, is it us bringing the division? Or are we bringing awareness?
Right.
Because at the end of the day, denominations bring division,
Right.
but the kingdom unites.
That's it. And it's interesting because, you look at the world in a sense, right? We're always quick to call out the stuff, anything, that has
absolutely.
nothing to do with kingdom business or anything of that nature. We'll call out the president, we'll call out the governor, we'll call out local politicians, we'll call out, either other community leaders and stuff. But when it comes to the word, we won't call out the falseness that has been indoctrinated into many of us, into our beliefs and stuff. We won't call that out. In other words, we'll double down on it.
Yeah.
We'll double down and stick to it because that's what we know and stuff. And we refuse to educate ourselves and get a little more insight into what it is we're doing.
Right.
And that causes, that goes along with what you just said in the last statement. It brings it all into taking you off the cliff pretty much. So.
Yeah. And many people are afraid to even call out things that they may even know is heresy, only because of the fact of the control. That's why we're calling this denominational damage, because the control has you in a place where you feel like, oh, I'm being out of order. They always preach about order. They always preach about honor.
Submission.
Yeah, and all of these things. And so it puts you in bondage, essentially, to be able to question, well, what you preached today, there was something you said in your sermon that this scripture doesn't say that,
Don't say that.
And nobody is, well, I won't say nobody. There are people who do speak up. There are people who do say these things. And there are probably people that do it and we would never know because they do it, in private or take the person aside, which is commendable.
Right.
If you're a person that does that, I know there have been times where I've taken people aside and asked them and questioned about the doctrine or even brought correction to people whom the Father told me to. Let me say that part. Who I had an unction in my spirit to address. And I've said this before on one of my podcasts, is that I remember some time ago there was somebody that I was affiliated with that put this post up on social media, and I inboxed her and was like, "Hey, what is this? What are we really talking about here?" And I feel like that is the way, especially if you know the person, that is the way you should go about it, instead of just putting a nasty comment under
in
their
the comment section, causing strife.
Right,
Yeah.
under their thing. Now, I get it if it's somebody that you don't know and maybe you just want to, put Bible verses up in there or whatever. But like if it's somebody that you know, instead of like bringing that division and strife, I would say to inbox them, but pray about it.
Yeah, pray about it.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times you can go amiss with that by quickly responding. I tell people all the time, don't be so quick to respond to things.
Yeah.
Think and then respond.
Yeah.
Don't be so quick to react to a post.
Yeah.
Respond.
Absolutely.
Which response will cause you to think a little bit more about what you're about to do, or what you're about to say, as opposed to reacting, because we're human, so by nature our instinct is to react.
Absolutely.
Whenever something triggers us, we react when it comes to fear, past traumas, past hurts. We react a certain way when we experience that. So oftentimes on social media, a lot of the strifes and infighting that happens is because someone quickly reacted without responding properly.
Ooh, come on, talk
and now
about
you got
it.
a whole bunch of. It's happened to me a couple of times. I've had several people come on my post and react, and I can tell when I look at it. Oh, you just reacted out of your flesh.
Absolutely, or you reacted out of the doctrine
Right.
that you were taught, and so you're literally trying to combat the word of Yah with your man-made tradition.
Yep. And all that's so heartbreaking.
And then you have literally, it's heartbreaking because then you have like a whole group of people who got your back because y'all all formed this denomination, you formed this community, you formed these councils, these fellowships. There's a fellowship called the Fellowship of Evangelical Christians, or Fellowship of Evangelical something. And so, like, yeah, you have all these people who are going to back you, the Zionist movement. I mean,
it's so much stuff out
there. Yeah. And so, I mean, in a sense, it's kind of like how you have these cults in the secular arena with, like, I know many people have heard of the Beehive, which are all the people who are, behind Beyonce, or the Swifties, or the, all of that is this kind of essentially the same kind of thing that you do in what was supposed to be the kingdom.
Yep. That's true.
But it's a group of churches and religion.
Oh, boy.
So we're going to open with this. The main groups within Christianity, like my husband said, we couldn't go through all of them. But the main three are Catholicism, Protestant, and Eastern Orthodox. Okay, the other groups, which also are another three, so altogether 6: Oriental Orthodox, Restorationism, and the Church of the East. And so, what we primarily covered in this series was Protestants and Restorationists, which is the 3 that we just came out of. The Protestants, we broke it down that they basically came from Catholicism, but retained practices from Catholicism, such as the garments that they wear, crosses, ceremonies that use objects that are held sacred.
Right.
So at the end of the day, you still came out with some of that. You still Catholic.
You still Catholic. You still Catholic. I mean,
He just gonna tell you like at the end of the day, you still
I mean,
Catholic.
you look like it, you sound like them and
Yeah.
stuff. I mean, we see it all the time and stuff. It's like to me, it's like man, and one of my things I always say about, especially when it comes to black churches, when I see black churches do this, I always see like it always grieves me because I'm like, man, you are really taking on the image of your oppressor.
Your oppressors, yeah.
And it's like, and when you understand like what we gone through the series and what they have done, especially like Catholic Church, you understand that fully. When you start dressing like them, you are dressing like your oppressors.
Right.
Your original oppressors.
Right.
And so at that point, it's like, man, I don't even know what to do anymore with y'all. Because I can't be a part of that.
And it's an issue because a lot of people, I know people who will say, well, yeah, they'll admit like, yeah, there was some dark stuff that went on or whatever.
That was in the past.
Yeah, that was in the past. And, basically you try to take a word, which is the word Christian and Christianity, and make it something that it wasn't founded on. So this is its originality. This is its foundation. This is where it came from and how it was forced upon us. And it distorted the original faith. But because you feel like you do good with it, that doesn't matter. You can't separate the two.
Okay. It's like the law of first mention.
Yeah.
And the first time you mention it, it's like what it actually means. And
Right.
stuff. And so the first time you see it, it's typically what it is and stuff. And you try to dress it up and make it something else.
Come on.
It's still the same thing in nature. You can say whatever you want to say about
Right.
it. But it's still like, it's like how money, when you come outside this country, I've heard people say this on some videos on YouTube a couple of years back. They was like, Christians here in America are very ignorant to a lot of things. Because when you go outside this country, the world is much different.
Absolutely.
It's very different from how you see it here from an evangelical or Christian's perspective. When you get outside the world, there's other denominations that you've probably never even seen. And they probably understand a lot more, as well as some Christians outside this country understand a lot more about the faith than what we in America do and stuff, because we have made it glorified as being something of nothing but blessings and honor to do this and stuff. But you don't realize that he's still a God of judgment and destruction and wrath.
It's almost well, I'm not going to say it's almost. Compared to what you just said of people outside of this country, the westernized version of Christianity is a fake faith.
It sure is.
Because they got to have real faith out there, because they really battling like real witches
stuff.
and warlocks.
Yeah.
Like this is like little bitty demons that we got over here.
Yeah. Like you see somebody floating in front of your house, you probably going to lose your daggone mind and forget to call on the name that's above all names. Because your fear has not yet experienced something that you cannot explain.
Come on.
And that's a whole different mindset when you talk about going to Africa. Oh, I want to go to Africa. Yeah, you want to go to Africa, but do you realize there's really flying witches there?
Yeah, and witch doctors.
And witch doctors. And do you really understand that this is there? While you talking about going to spread the good news, are you prepared to do the fight? Because most of them don't even know where their weapon is.
Let me tell you.
Don't get me started.
This show about to go a whole nother direction, because when I tell you the amount of people who want to put international in their title and have never even appealed or understood the demonic realms in your own region, and ain't got no power to war against those demonic realms and those warlocks and stuff, but you want to be international.
Right.
Like, please sit down.
Better yet, I'll take you one step further. You want to put international in your name, but you don't even have a passport.
Make it make sense.
Yeah.
Well, technically, I guess they want to be in the technical side. I guess they want to be technical because of the fact that we do have streaming now. So they international because, they streaming internationally. They ain't got to actually go to,
I'll be like,
to
okay,
the place.
so what does your international streaming or analytics look like?
Who
watching you from over here and over there and stuff?
And everywhere.
Yeah, it's kind of reminds me back like when you had Fire Dance and stuff. And I don't know why this came across my mind the other day, but when I proposed and stuff, and I said that I see you being international and stuff, and everything, and not realizing that literally that next year it was going to happen, and
Absolutely.
it did and stuff. And even our pastors at the time were very surprised because they had no idea the reach that someone could have around the world if you're speaking the truth.
That's it.
If you're speaking the truth and doing something that the Father has guided you to do, He's going to make it internationally known.
That's it.
We didn't do out there and go over here overseas to promote anything. It's just people saw it, people shared it, and people tuned in.
Exactly.
And it helped you build a business that was basically internationally recognized. And so it's like when I really bothers me when I see churches that do this, but yet they have no mindset or no knowledge of actually how to spread that gospel internationally.
Yeah.
Because they're only concerned about what's happening on their block.
Right.
No further. You're not even really concerned about across the street. You're just concerned about what's happening in your four walls, and you care nothing about that, but you claim to say because of your denomination that you're international.
Ooh, help us today.
Make that make sense for me.
Help us today. So, and then at the end of the day, what we're going to discuss today is the fact that even though you know, there are many that are spreading it, you know, and everybody's not false. I mean, there are people that are actually spreading the truth, but they're not widely heard of. They're not these people who are on TV. They're not these people who are international and known, and you mention the name and you know them. They're not those people. They're smaller communities because everybody's been so indoctrinated that the minute you say the law, the minute you say commandments, the minute you say Sabbath is on a Saturday, they like, I'm not with it. Because it's not common to man. And so here it is. We extensively covered in the last few episodes a few of the restorationists who are the Mormons, Adventists, Jehovah's Witness, who restored pieces of the faith, but pieces of the faith like the Sabbath commandments and the one true Yah, but they still imposed man-made doctrines which kept people enslaved to systems. And what we're trying to do is show you the Spirit over the systems, show you who Yah is over these systems and what His holy word says, what His commandments are, and not these bylaws that have been that have been erected to
church covenants and stuff. Yeah,
that have been erected instead of what it clearly says in the word. And it's so contradictory because when you look on many of the church websites, the one of the first articles of their faith say, we believe, in the word. We believe the Bible is the only, what is it? Whatever that thing they say, infallible
word of God.
Word of Yah, but they don't follow it.
Right.
Or they follow it and give their own interpretation of
Jesus,
it.
why?
Yeah, and say that this is what that means, and it's not. So let's talk about some of the commonalities in these Christian denominations. You can go ahead and read that.
So some of the comments in Christian denominations that most groups affirm either the Nicene Creed, or the Apostles' Creed, or both. They have a man-made statement of faith not found in Scripture.
Yeah,
and so that creed part to me is the craziest thing because when you see what it is, it's basically an oath.
Yeah.
It's an oath to believe in a doctrine, but it has nothing to do with Scripture. It's just saying that
both of those are oaths.
These are oaths that you're making, and the word says make no oaths under the sun and stuff is what it says. So it's like, okay, you're already going against Scripture now because you got these creeds and these oaths that you're doing, which clearly goes against the word of Yah. And it's like, and some of them are just really downright spooky though.
Yeah.
Because the Apostles' Creed and people.
Well, the thing that I have an issue with on the Apostles' Creed is that it includes the Catholic Church, who they say is holy. So it basically says, do you believe that I affirm that I believe in, Yah, and I believe in not really Yah, because they believe in another God, but that's another story for another day and another season.
Another season, please.
But it says that they believe in the Holy Trinity. And then they believe
the Trinitarian doctrine,
which we're going to get into the next episode. But it also says you have to affirm that you believe in the Holy Catholic Church. I'm like, what? Why you put that in there?
It's like you're making an oath to Satan.
Yes. And as we actually went over with a lot of the restorationists, such as the Jehovah's Witness and the Seventh-day Adventists, they do have in there, I think we were talking with Seventh-day Adventists, that they actually have in their baptismal thing that they had to agree to their 28 beliefs and all that stuff, and that you are actually baptized into the church.
Not into the kingdom.
That the word don't
into the
say
church.
that. Yeah.
That's just really. So one of the other things that they do is the denominations often defend traditions rather than align with scripture, just like you were saying. So it's like you're getting baptized into the church. Now, when you read those 28, because we didn't go over all of them, when you read it, you'll understand clearly what they're literally saying is that it's that fellowship of the church, not the overall church, the ecclesia. They're talking about that fellowship
of their doctrine or their
connection or whatever organization structure they have. You're baptized into that system. Right. So there is a stark difference between that. And so what does the Bible say about it? Well, in Mark chapter 7, verses 7 through 8, it says, in vain do they worship me, teaching as doctrines of commandments of men.
Yep. Right there. It's right there in the word.
It's telling you, right? Plain and simple. Doctrines of men and stuff. And then we have a second one here, Colossians 2 and 8. It says, beware of anyone who cheats through philosophy and empty deceit. Now, this is one of the scriptures that I'm always cognizant of. This one, because it's like, you see it a lot, and it really mesmerizes me that people don't even understand, like, you're being basically deceived and stuff. And so it says, be aware of anyone who cheats you through philosophy and empty deceit according to the traditions of men. Basic principles of the world and not according to Mashiach.
Yep. Plain and simple.
Plain and simple.
Especially because of that word philosophy, because, again, there are a couple of places where I looked on websites for some of like these mega churches, and it clearly says our philosophy is.
Right. And I'm always cognizant of that, because I think I can't remember what episode we talked about it, where a lot of the pastors have PhDs and stuff.
Yeah.
That's a doctrine in philosophy. So you're basically a philosopher of the scriptures.
Yeah.
So that means you can pretty much interpret what you want to interpret, as long as it sounds good, put it in it, and it resonate with people. Oh, you're a real doctor.
Yeah.
But you're just doing what the Greeks did.
New thought.
New age thought process. Is all you're doing. I think that's what's really wrong with the church today, is because we have put more weight on someone who can philosophically exhortate the scriptures.
Yeah.
As opposed to instead of it's plainly interpreting and guiding through such.
Yeah, the exegesis.
And stuff. And so it's like you get to this part, and I really have a problem when I see preachers try to make be philosophical with the word, and just kind of like give you these allegories and stuff that don't really help you understand anything, but they sound good.
Yeah.
But you come out more empty because there's no substance to it and stuff. And then next thing you know, now the church is repeating a phrase that was philosophical, and now they made it their mantra.
Right.
To me, that really bothers me when people do that kind of stuff.
When there are scriptures that are written literally, you can't make allegories out of that. Like you can't. We talk about how Yahushua spoke in parables, but even when he spoke in parables, he always explained it. He explained the parables to his disciples. He explained the parables to the disciples. So he spoke in parables, so you feel like you have to interpret that. No, you don't.
No, you don't.
Because you just need to read a little further. You need to read the whole chapter instead of a couple of verses.
Right. That always gets me. It's like, even when Christ even said why he speaks in parables, he said, but I'm going to make it plain for you, speaking to the disciples. That's the part she's talking about that we miss. We missed that part. And so you get that first part where Jesus is saying, and you stick with that because it's the words in red and stuff that, whatever. But then you forget the part of where he's explaining it to his disciples.
Absolutely.
You think that's just there just to be there? No, that's for us to understand what it is. And we miss it every time when we try to make it something else. It's like kind of case in point. I know you don't like all this. The other week there was a controversy at a women's conference where the speaker said strongholds are for strong women. Strongholds are for strong women. Now this is we all pretty
Hold
much
up, you got to finish that statement. Then she says, so the hold got to be strong because the woman is strong.
Right.
Continue.
Yeah. Sarah Jakes Roberts. But anyways, that's the kind of nonsense that we deal with. It's like because you're hyped up in emotionalism and you're trying to be philosophical, but what you're being philosophical about is basically preaching bondage on the people.
Doctrines
So now
of men.
you're saying, okay, you know what, it's okay to be in bondage because you're a strong woman.
Basically,
That
that's what
makes
she
sense.
said.
That don't make no sense, and I think that really caught a lot of people off guard because this has only been a few weeks after you took the head of the church and stuff. And so it's like now you're out here doing this. Like, wait a minute, hold up, wait a minute. This your daddy is who now? How do you come up with that? Like, make that make sense. But this is that vain glory and deceit we're talking about here in Galatians 2:8. It's like it's
Yeah.
right there plain in front of you.
Yeah.
And all the people that spent all that money to go came out there probably scratching their head like, I don't know
Right.
about that, right? I don't want to be in bondage. Nobody wants to be in
And
bondage.
I'm not sure of anyone who the videos that I have seen. I'm not sure if anyone who actually was there and went are speaking against it. The videos that I've
Probably
seen
not.
of the people that are speaking against it, they didn't go.
Right, because they weren't under
because they're
the
like,
strong
oh yeah,
delusion.
we're not under that delusion. So I've yet to see people who have gone and said, you know what, that was a waste of my money. I shouldn't have done it. Like this was. I more so see the people who went try to defend it.
Yep, I've seen that too.
And I'm
which is crazy
like,
to me.
that's the problem. But here's my thing. I don't know how many people went to this event because I know they have like thousands of people who go. I should have looked that statistic up. But in that very moment, that was probably one of the most profound things that those people felt like she said that were under the
That's
strong
gonna
delusion.
remember.
And they were very, because I even saw somebody who defended the whole boots on the ground.
Oh,
Thinking that they
God.
did during the, I guess, because they did it during the intermission. They
did
were
it.
saying it was just during the intermission, and they didn't even play the whole song. They just played like, a couple of a minute and a half of it maybe, and it was just like an intermission time, and there was nothing wrong with it. And then we got back to business, I guess.
Mm,
But the issue is that you
makes
played
sense.
it at all,
right.
and you played the original lyrics, and like one woman was saying, I'm not thinking about church when I'm listening to that song.
Right, exactly.
I'm not thinking about the things of God when I'm listening to that song. So what are you really promoting here?
Oh, Lord Jesus.
You know,
Yeah, it's
but
crazy.
getting back to the main thing, the issue is the statement alone is and I'm going to be very, very bold when I say this.
Go ahead.
The statement alone is a form of sorcery that was sent out through a microphone over speakers, over the airways. We know that it says in the word that he is the prince of the power of the air. And so those people who came out of that conference defending it, it is because they actually are under that spell that was just put on them. Because if you're listening to the phrasing of what she's saying, we got you.
Right.
And she's doing this the whole time while she's saying it. She's saying that we got you. We have y'all under a stronghold. That's what she's saying.
Yeah, they spent $1,000 to get to that conference.
Yeah. We need y'all to keep coming. We need to keep getting your money. First of all, these people are already rich.
Already rich.
We need to keep getting your money so that we can keep bringing you into this emotional delusion that you're in. It's just cycles of emotions. Year after year after year after year.
It's just mind. It's just
And
mind-blowing.
this all goes in with this denominational damage. I'm going to tell you how. First, I want to ask you this question. Are we worshiping the Father in spirit and truth? Or are we clinging to traditions that keep us bound to man's systems? Because it is a system. It is supposed to be the body of Mashiach. It's supposed to be a living organism. But we've made it an organization. We've made it a system. We've made it all about honor and rules, and this is how we do it over here. This is, for the culture, because
for the culture.
When we do it in the black sense, black church, black community,
Black
there's
excellence.
a whole culture to it, but none of it aligns with heaven. None of it aligns with the kingdom. He says, as in earth, as it is in heaven. But I don't think any of that stuff that is being done is mirroring.
It ain't nowhere
heaven.
near heaven because they're not even connected to the source that's in heaven.
Come on.
They connected it to their flesh, into this realm, and they believe that they have all they need here on earth.
My.
While you have people in your congregational seats that are hungry,
Yeah.
that don't have jobs, don't have cars, don't have transportation, but they're coming there seeking a breakthrough, and all they're doing is watching you cast spells over the people to get them out of their money still. And it's like, to me, that's always been something that I've watched for years. It's always been one of my things I've like really strongly adamant against and stuff.
Right.
It's like, because I'm like, I'm a firm believer, if there are people in need in your fellowship, you need to help them people.
Mm-hmm.
Don't sit here and put stipulations on them. Well, when was the last time you had a job? That's not really your care right now. The care is, are you going to meet the need? Because I believe Christ says something is like, because you've done it to the least of these, you've done it to me.
Absolutely.
And there have been many times where I myself have witnessed where the Father has done something miraculous in my life because I put myself aside and put somebody else's position ahead of mine.
That's good.
And I watch a lot of these televangelists that don't do that. And they might say, oh, yeah, we have a lot of homeless community. We do a lot of outreach and stuff. But are you really there?
Mm-hmm.
Or do you send a few little people from here to send them over there and stuff?
Yeah.
Are you really putting those people in a position where you're really lifting them out of their state?
Right.
Or are you just holding to your system?
Mm. Most of these people are motivational speakers, I'm telling you.
Yeah.
But that thing that she said, I don't know how that was motivation at all.
No motivation. I ain't trying to be in no bondage.
So let's get into this non-denominationalism. Now that we've covered, again, these movements with Protestant and restorationalists, what you need to know about non-denominationalism is that it actually was birthed out of the first Great Awakening. Mm-hmm. Remember last week we talked about the second Great Awakening, which is where the Jehovah's Witness mm-hmm. came from, Mormons, they came out of the second Great Awakening, and they were called restorationists. Well, this is from the first Great Awakening. Mm-hmm. Non-denominational churches claim no affiliation, but often fall under evangelicalism mm-hmm. or megachurch networks. Okay, so they claim that they're non-denominational, which means they have no affiliation with the Nicene Creed, mm-hmm. the Apostles' Creed, all of those things. However, and I can speak to this because I've been a part of several non-denominational churches. When you are in a denominational church, it often takes on the spirit of whatever that leader came out of.
Yep.
Whatever denomination that leader came out of. Mm-hmm. They bring those foundations with them.
Yeah, it does. And I was like, I think when one of my pastors here that I really respect and honor and stuff, when he started his church 20 years ago, matter of fact, we just celebrated 20, right? Yeah, a couple months ago. When he started it, it was considered a non-denominational church. But here's the issue that I saw with this for many years when I was in this fellowship. It had very strong Baptist roots mm-hmm. because he came out of a Baptist church. Even to this day, those roots are still there.
Yeah,
they hold on to the Baptist doctrine,
which comes from Catholicism.
Which comes from Catholicism, which in a sense, so you're truly not non-denominational,
right?
Because if you were non-denominational, you wouldn't go back and reach for them Baptist things.
Come on,
you wouldn't go back and reach for them Kojic things. You wouldn't go back and reach for all these things just because this is back in the day. This is you used to have church mm-hmm. and stuff. You wouldn't do that and stuff. And so it's like it's really. And I'm just speaking for the black church in this because I see the black church struggle with this more than any other church and stuff that claims to be a non-denominational church.
Because they're looking for identity.
Right. And so because they're looking for identity, so they go back to the very thing that they already know, which is like a dog returning to his vomit. It's like you know you were sick of it, you left it for a reason, but then you go back to it every now and then when it's convenient.
Help.
And to me, that's like, it's so crazy because like you're really not reading the word and really holding on to what the Father is telling you to do.
Right.
You're doing what's feel. This is why I always believe when someone says they have a non-denominational church, the first thing I do is I don't look at the pastor, I look at the leaders that's underneath them. Because that's always going to tell you what's really going on. Because the pastor might say it out of his mouth, but are them leaders that's underneath it coming out of somewhere? And a lot of times they're going to do what they already know.
Come on.
They don't go and study to do something different. They go do what they already know. And that's the problem. It's like now you got this Baptist thing creeping in because your worship leader is still Baptist.
Wait a minute. You got me up here wanting to call you Doc right now. Come on, Doc.
But it's true. It's really honestly true with that because just go sit back at church and think and look at it mm-hmm. and see where are these people, the organists? Did they play in a Baptist church or a Kojic church?
Come on.
You're going to see that. You're going to see that spirit come in.
That's important.
In that non-denominational church and stuff. It's going to always happen. I don't care if you sing CCM or not. If you sing CCM, I guarantee you some Baptist and gospel is going to come right up in there.
Absolutely.
And it all the time.
And I think that's important to look at when you talked about the leaders under the pastor, and then even more importantly, the worship team, the worship leader, and the musicians.
Yep.
Because that really is what's going to shape the movement of the ministry.
Mhm.
And like you said, did they come Kojic? What's their background? Because they're going to at some point try to introduce those things.
They sure will.
Into the
you
worship,
can always tell 'cause-
unless the pastor just absolutely tells them like,
Right.
no, we're not doing that here.
Yeah.
However, at the end of the day, the apostle or whomever is the head shepherd of that house, they may say they have the spirit of their leader, but once you have that team of people who are in place and they have their different ministries within the church, sometimes you have many churches within one church.
Yeah.
Because now there is this separation, and like this is how they run their particular ministry. This is how they run the usher
The
ministry
usher boys
or the
run like
choir
the
or the
Baptists. Like the missionary Baptists.
And a lot of times the pastor won't know that this stuff is being done.
Right.
And the people in that separate ministry, the ministry that's under the church, they won't go tell the pastor because they think that person's getting orders from the pastor, and really they're just infiltrating their own thing.
Boy, you hit the nail on the head with that one. Listen.
So they never go tell the pastor. They never go address it with the pastor. I've known a couple of people who have done it. And matter of fact, a good friend of mine who has done it. And when they did go address it with the pastor just backed that person up, even though they knew that the person wasn't right. They just backed up that leader
because they didn't want to lose that leader.
Right.
Even though the leader was in error, they didn't want to lose it and stuff. Yeah, that's crazy. Oh my Lord, you hit the nail on the head with that one stuff.
So let's talk about it. Non-denominationalism. An example, when I told you that they claim they don't have affiliations, but they fall under the evangelical system. Non-denominational churches like the Potter's House, make a church like the Potter's House, they claim to be non-denominational, but they're strongly Pentecostal. And the belief system that they have, as a matter of fact, I read that Bishop Jakes was actually ordained in what was called Oneness Pentecostal.
Yep, sure was.
But in Oneness Pentecostal, they didn't believe in the Trinitarian doctrine. However, now the Potter's House does believe in that.
Yeah. And it's really interesting because, everybody who grew up in a Pentecostal church, the reason why I've been in a Potter's House maybe like 2 times and stuff. I wasn't really impressed. So it's a big edifice and stuff, right? And stuff. And you can really get caught up in that thing. I think it's where a lot of people do. They get caught up and stuff in that. And because everybody comes in with high expectations and stuff. Right. And they don't get past the high expectation to get into the word or to anything. They just get stuck right there at that moment.
Come on.
But it's like when you understand coming out of that Pentecostal church, you'll see why a lot of people in there drive to that church, because they go to what's familiar to them. It's always tied to that. Anytime you go to a church, someone goes because that's what they grew up in. And stuff. And so, they got a little this and a little bit this. It's like old school church. Just back in the when my grandmama and them used to take me to church. Just not your mama taking you to church. When your grandmama took you to the church. That's a whole 2 generations right there.
Wait a minute.
So now you're tied back down to the root again. Because it's what you remember as a child and stuff. Right. Instead of you trying to seek something better, a better way, a better understanding of his word, you go back to what's familiar to you. Right. And so that's why a lot of the churches like the Bible says, hold on to those type of beliefs and stuff, is because it's familiar to them.
Yeah. And when you think about, a lot of people will say, well, what's wrong with that? Going back to the roots of what my grandma did, because, a lot of people will bring up how, they have the saying of how the old saints did it. The old saints did this and the old saints did that. Well, the old saints lived in a whole different generation where they were still dealing with slavery. Hello.
And,
they were still dealing
understanding
with
a lot in the word.
Yeah. Slavery, they were dealing with, not necessarily slavery, but they were dealing with segregation.
Yeah, Jim Crow.
They were dealing with Jim Crow. They were dealing with, there were other things they were dealing with in that time, and all they had to hold on to was, and for lack of better words, the white man's religion. Because remember, in slavery times, they couldn't read. They had to take on what their oppressor told them, and that continued on. And then they came into those, what you call them, the old 100s and the things that they used to sing. And when you try to bring that into today, it makes no sense. Right. Because this is not our reality. This is not, we didn't live in that. And we know better because we're educated. We can read. We have the word right in front of us, but we don't want to. We want to
Right.
go to a conference. We want to go to a workshop. We want somebody to explain it to us in their theological terms without going to get it for ourselves.
It's like I told you many times about a story I had when I became a deacon, and they wanted me to do the old 100s and stuff in devotion at a Baptist church.
Yeah.
And I was adamantly against it. And stuff.
Yeah.
And I wasn't being against it because I was being rebellious, it's because I knew what it was and
Mhm.
stuff. And I wanted to know, did they know what it was? Because
Right.
if they could tell me what it was, then I might entertain it and stuff. I still wasn't really with it, but they didn't even know what it was
Mhm.
and stuff. And I'm like, yeah, it's because in slavery times they weren't allowed to read. So the one person that knew, understand, and had a good memory would call and response. That's where the
Yeah.
call and response came from in the Black Baptist Church. It came from the slave masters who were telling the slaves how to sing the song, and they would repeat, and we just kept doing it. And
Yeah.
some Baptist churches still do it in their devotion today and stuff.
Yeah.
It's like, you wonder why you can't get past certain things in your
My
congregation because you're still
Lord.
holding on to 400 years of slavery.
Help us.
I mean, make that make sense and
Right.
stuff. And so, one of the songs in particular that I really had a problem with was God Thee, O That Great Jehovah. Okay? Great song, but when you actually listen to the words, you wonder, I'm not going through no barren land.
Right.
I'm not sojourning or pilgriming through a barren land.
Help.
I'm at a land that has milk and honey.
Yeah.
I have resources. My parents didn't have that. So I look at things like this, my father finished high school, but my mom didn't get past the 3rd grade.
Mm-hmm.
So she only had a 3rd grade education. So now how am I supposed to do church when my own mother only had a 3rd grade education?
Come on.
So it's like, so now if I'm holding on to what she's saying, I'm going to miss some things.
Help.
And so am I going to do better by doing what she told me to do, was to do better than she did?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so yeah, I'm going to finish school. I'm going to go on and do this stuff, but I'm also going to read and get an understanding for myself.
That's it. You cannot stay in a place where you are, where you only have a relationship with the God of your mother or
Mhm.
the God of your grandmother. You have to have your own relationship. And as you were speaking, it just reminded me of, and I know we've talked about this before, it reminded me of that old thing where there was that tradition of passing down that ham.
Oh, yeah.
Where they cooked the ham,
Cooked
and
the
the person
ham.
would cut it on each end, and every single time, and then finally somebody asked, well, why do we cut both ends of the ham? And they're like, oh, well, they only did it because they didn't have a pan that was big enough.
Right.
And so this is the thing with the old 100s, like they never nobody ever saw
Never
it to
saw it.
see, like, okay, why are we still singing this? Because is this really our reality? Is this what we should really be singing to him? Or is this something that got them over in that time?
Yeah, it's just like going to the Baptist church and everybody put their finger up when they walk out.
Yeah.
That was right there was always one I just like, put your hand down. Put your hand down. And stuff. And it's like, well, what do you mean? I'm just excusing myself. You're not in the field.
Come
you
on.
slave. You're not in the slave field over there picking cotton where you have to put your hand up to show the slave master that you got to go to the bathroom.
Right.
You do this in the church. They only do this in the church. And it's like, you do this at work?
That's
no.
terrible.
Do you do this in the grocery store? No.
No.
Do you do it anywhere? You do it at home? No. But you do it in the church. Why?
Help us.
Because you're holding on to traditions of men
Come on.
out of ignorance.
Out of ignorance.
I'm going to stop because I can go all day about that.
Ooh,
part.
I didn't know this episode was going to be like this. So we mentioned the Potter's House. Also, one that I looked up, Tony Evans, who founded the Oak Cliff Bible Fellowship, also claims non-denominationalism, but they are very much aligned with the evangelical theology. And again, I mentioned we're going to talk about this when we do the Trinitarian episode, but in the evangelical theology and the evangelical fellowship, if you're connected to them, which is like about 300 churches that are, they have that Trinitarian belief. There's a lot of doctrinal error that they have. And so we'll get into that in that episode, but y'all have to go study and read this stuff for yourself, because you will join into something. And even though on the surface, it's like, okay, they're not like the other ones. This is not denominational. So they're not declaring this or they're not declaring that. Okay, it looks like that on the surface when you're in the lower level of it. But if they have any affiliation above them, or if they're connected to anybody, you need to start looking at, okay, who are they connected to?
Right.
Who are they affiliated with? Where do they come out of? Because the core of that is not going to change.
It's not going to change. And it's funny how you mentioned those two examples right there, because both of those leaders retired. And so now, recently, so now look at who's coming to replace them. Because you're going to see something that's going to be a difference. Are they going to hold on to what they've already learned and from their previous leader? Or are they going to take that and add something else to it? Which I believe the latter is going to be the true part. They're going to add something to it, and it's going to and it always happens. Look where we're at in the church today. It's types and shadows of what once was. Ooh. It just keeps changing, adding something to it. And now you go back and look at it in 60 years, you're like, this ain't what I grew up under. It's something completely different.
Right.
That's how we do it. But,
yeah, I believe they're going to hold on to parts of it, like how we started, the way that we started this episode was talking about that with the Protestant, like, okay, you came out of Catholics, but you still really kind of are Catholic, you know? So they're going to hold on to a lot of those things because that's how they're going to retain the members who were actually loyalists.
You change it too much, they're going to have people rebel and they're going to lead the church. Next thing you know, you got 10 people sitting on the front row.
Because I don't doubt that, even though you probably won't see it, it won't look significant to you because there's so many people who are connected to specifically the Potter's House with Bishop Jakes. But I don't doubt that there's going to be people that don't go anymore.
Oh, it started happening before he retired.
There are people that are more loyal to the actual pastor than they are just coming to fellowship.
Yeah, you had
some
affiliations that left that changed their affiliations once he said he was going to retire and stuff. And some other churches in North in Denton, I think, or something like that, that was affiliated with them. They changed their association once he said he was retiring.
Wow.
And stuff. And you look at it like this, even before he retired, when the whole Diddy thing came out, people stopped going then.
Yeah.
And stuff because it's like, okay, wait a minute, my pastor was at the Diddy.
Yeah. Like, what's going on?
What's going on with this now? I don't know if I want to be a part of that kind of party, you know? And so that the numbers started dropping in, and you could see it on TV. It was like, it was evident that something was changing there. And so now you have a different leader. I know there's a lot of people that suddenly left because of that.
Yeah.
And I think you'll see him come back every now and again just to, bring the numbers back. But yeah, that's why he's pastor emeritus.
And I'm glad we brought that up because going back to what we talked about earlier with the Sarah Jakes Roberts event, that's why they do things like that. That's why they need that woman involved movement and stuff like that, because if they don't draw the numbers to the actual church ministry, they're gonna draw numbers in that area at least.
Because always happens.
They love a good conference.
The woman gonna bring the family to the church.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk about some of these criticisms. When I looked this up in regards to non-denominationalism, there was two that stuck out to me. One from a guy named Stephen Prothero, who was a Boston University professor, who believes that non-denominationalism encourages a dissent of Christianity, ignorance of the scriptures, lowering the overall religious literacy while increasing the potential for inter-religious misunderstandings and conflicts.
Wow.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
Now, the part where he says it encourages a dissent of Christianity, I needed to encourage that because we don't need the label of Christianity.
Right.
However, when he talks about ignorance of scriptures, lowering the overall religious literacy, I believe that fully, because when they established the non-denominationalism, it was basically saying, okay, we're not going to go by that creed, we're not going to go by this creed, but you really did start interjecting like your own kind of way of how you worshiped and how you did stuff, but it was just another interpretation of like, this is how we're going to interpret scripture. And I think a lot of people who are in that non-denominational, they don't really know what they believe. They don't really, they just want to worship. They just, we just love to go worship and be that scripture they always want to use in Hebrews, don't forsake the assembly of the saints, be among their brethren and stuff like that. But then when it comes to these issues and you are confronted with people like Mormons or Jehovah's Witness, you really don't, you don't know the apologetics.
You don't
like
know
I
apologetics.
said,
yeah, it's really.
Because your thing is all about having having good church. That's what it's all about, is having good church.
It's because it's all emotional.
Yeah.
It's like you say, lowering biblical literacy is a thing, because right now it's
the main
filled with
issue.
emotionalism.
It's the main
It's
issue.
the main thing. It's filled with emotionalism, so it removes biblical literacy. Therefore, you don't know how to make it through your own trials and tribulations.
Except for to run to the church so you can hear a word that tells you that strongholds is made for strong women.
Make that. Oh my God, that's a good one. Like how you did that there. That was a great one.
I mean, what are we doing?
What are we doing? It's wild, but oh my God, that's crazy. Yeah, man, that's what it is though. And I guess I don't know. It's like I pray one day we'll come to an understanding and get that. And that's been one of my prayers for the past decade is that my people who are called by his name humble themselves, seek his face, and pray.
And turn.
Turn. That means turn from what you're doing. I guarantee you he's going to heal a lot of people and he's going to heal the nation.
That's it.
That's basically what it is and stuff, because we're doing all this stuff thinking we're doing it in his name and we're not. Sometimes I had times that I do want to go to church sometimes. I'd be like, I go to a Sunday service. But then I sit back and think about, I don't really want to go. It's like, because it's like, I know if I go, I'm going to go and, because I just go to just the fellowship, really.
Right.
I know I'm sounding my word already.
Yeah.
There ain't nothing you gonna say that's gonna change me and stuff, because I'm already and some pastors already knew that when we came in. They already he's already got his stuff. Yeah, because I've spent many years studying this stuff, and it's like you could do all this hooping and hollering, jumping up and down, pushing people down, throwing oil, singing oil, throwing sheets. You know, you could do all that stuff and everything. But if you can't give me the actual word, it don't really mean nothing to me.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's different.
Blowing hot air. Another person here, Stephen Harmon, who was a Baptist theologian, he said, there's no such thing. He argues this. There's no such thing as truly non-denominational, because as soon as decisions on worship, Baptist, communion, etc. are made, it places churches in a specific type of denominational tradition. It goes back to what I said earlier. It's really going to take on the trait of either the main leader or the leaders directly under them.
Underneath the leadership.
Because when they began to make decisions on how, how we're going to do the ministerial part and how we're going to do all of the things, it's got to go back to the foundation of what they came out of, whether it be Kojic, Pentecostal, Baptist, whatever. They're going to bring those pieces in with them.
I remember years ago, I was working with a church and updating their media ministry. This is probably about 20 years ago. And I remember talking with the media ministry people that was running the media ministry and the leader over that ministry at the time. And I was giving them some pointers on what to do. And I said, okay, first of all, we need to upgrade some equipment and everything. And their first thing was like, yeah, we don't have no money for that. But I'm sitting here looking at this huge building. Y'all just spent $12,000 on getting projector screens up in the church.
Well,
but you don't have no money for a computer. You don't have no money for a camera. And I started realizing, I know what I'm dealing with. I'm dealing with your governmental system within your church that tells you don't have no money, but really they have a bank stacked full of money.
For other things.
That
they think is more important.
Yeah, like the choir robes and the organ and the drums and stuff. But they want to do the media ministry, but they don't want to spend no money on it. And I admit, I fell into that trap one time too, where I took all my business equipment and basically utilized it in a church. And I had two other friends that did the same thing and stuff, because they weren't gonna get it and invest in themselves. So, but they still wanted to work and stuff. And so it's like, okay, I just go ahead and use this and stuff to get this stuff done, because I'm tired of them not doing it. Now you stuck in 3-4 years in. The moment you leave that ministry, where's the equipment at? It's mine. I bought it. It's like, because you didn't want to invest in it, because you're stuck in this way of thinking, well, God will provide. Yeah, he gave you offerings.
That's it.
But you don't want to use it for what.
And let's address the other side of that coin, right? The flip side of that is you do have ministries now who have invested in those things. They got all the best top-notch equipment, but their word is empty.
Lacking.
Like they were,
it's all performance based.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I'm going to literally, there was a ministry that I went to. I'm not going to name the church, but a church that I went to in this area that, just like what you said, when you went to the Potter's house, I was enamored with the edifice. I was enamored with the theatrics, like the lighting and the everything, this and that and the screens and everything they had. And I went, after a little time of going, probably like a month or so, I realized after I was over all of that stuff, I was like, okay, now.
What else is there?
Yeah. Like, what is I
know exactly which one you're talking about.
I never even saw him open his Bible when he would talk. He would just say things,
and
they would show like a little commercial of something.
Oh yeah, their media was
all
on point.
Into the theater.
Their media was way on point.
He would come out. I mean, man, the lighting was. I mean, it was amazing, because it was like everything is timed, everything is down. So he would come out and he would say something, and then they would dim the lights, and your attention would go to a screen, and then there would be a screen of like a commercial or something that would show a promo. And then after the promo, when the lights came back up, there's a people singing in front of you. Like, it was a whole thing. Like, it was a whole thing. But again, after, because I love the thing. I love, some parts are performance based. I remember early on in Fire Dance Academy, I said that, and I think it rubbed one of the people the wrong way, and she never came back to the academy.
Yeah.
But I'm like, no, truly, some things are performance based. Some pieces of it are performance based. In timing and how you got, but it's so much so to the point of the word when it gets to the point of the word being lacking, it's like, nah.
Yeah, it's crazy because I even went to that ministry with a friend of mine when they branched and opened a location in Dallas.
Mm-hmm.
We went up there one year, years ago, and it was their first service. I never forget. It was, matter of fact, it was Resurrection Sunday, and it was their first service that day in that building. And I'm sitting here like, okay, is this going to be like Austin? Because that's my first thing. It was a way smaller building. It's like, okay, it wasn't like Austin, but they had the smoke machine. That kind of made me like, I don't know about this. It's like you conjuring up something. But then as soon as I said conjuring up something, my friend elbowed me. He's like, stop saying stuff like that. I'm like, no, something's, at that point I realized, oh no, something's off. I didn't know what it was, but something was off. And so we sitting around because her father was the security for the pastor. And we're hanging around after the church. I'm meeting the pastor, meeting his wife, and then a nice couple and stuff like that. Don't know where they are now. But my friend's father was standing right there as security, and he looks at me, and I look at him, and then we both look at this lady standing on the side walking our way. And that's when I realized her father had real strong discernment. That was a witch that was walking up to hug the pastor and the first lady. And we both sitting there like, you gonna get him? I'm gonna get him. Which one?
Right.
Because we was like, and we're saying like, don't nobody see this? Because it's like, and even my friend was like, well, what was you and my father like doing over there? We was like,
evident.
You didn't see that lady that walked up? That was a whole witch. I said, she even had the tattoo on her neck. I was like, I'm looking at the tattoo because I'm like, is this pastor gonna see this? Because I'm gonna stay here because I don't know if he's gonna break out and need deliverance or something or what. But I knew it wasn't right. I felt it in the spirit. But it was the theatrics that everybody was caught up in.
Yeah, you're
that
so
they missed. They
missed
missed the witch walking in the door.
You're so enamored with it. The smoke machine,
I felt
the lights,
the shift
everything,
when she walked in. Yeah,
and you don't even realize what's happening. What's really happening in the atmosphere. So let me just give you these scriptures because we're gonna wrap this up. Key scriptures: 1 Corinthians 1:12 through 13. Talks about, is Mashiach divided? Was Paul crucified for you, or were you baptized in the name of Paul? In other words, being baptized in the name of people or being baptized in their name of their doctrines or into their church is not of Yah. It is not anything that he ever said. He said in the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, not in the name of a church or a person. Also, John 17:20 through 21, Messiah prayed for his followers to be one, not divided into systems, yet you have all of these different religions. We didn't go through all of them because let me tell you something.
Go ahead.
When you go look up the word, when you go look up this, Christian denominations, that page, if you look in Wikipedia, that page is so long.
Oh my God.
Because even when you break down like Lutheranism and Calvinism and all that stuff, under each of them is another group of sections. There's different kind of.
That's why I
Lutheranism.
say it would take 2.5 seasons to do the major ones because it's so many of them. But the crazy part about it is everyone takes a piece of something from all of those, and come up with their main one and stuff. So the religious systems divide, but the kingdom unites. That's the whole thing of this whole series was. We don't want to divide. We want to unite.
Yeah. And non-denominationalism is still shaped by denominational systems, still shaped by that. The Father is calling his people back to the truth, back to obedience, back to his spirit. John 4:23 says the Father seeks worshipers who will worship him in spirit and truth, not man-made rules.
There you go. Man, I hope you've enjoyed this series. I know I have. It's been a wonderful 2 months, I think.
Yes.
Almost 2 months going through this series and stuff. So if you have more topics that you want us to discuss, you can email us at based on our website. You can email us at info@sotrr.com.
Yes.
Me and Dr. Deweylla, we check those emails and stuff. If you have a topic you want us to discuss that we haven't talked about yet, shoot us an email. We'll love to do some research on it and bring it to the people, because that's what we're here to do, to help bring back order in the kingdom and stuff. So
it's the kingdom order.
Yep. So before we get off, make sure you go ahead and like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Make sure you share this with your followers. If you have caught us on Spotify, you can catch us over there on TKO Podcast. And you can also find us on Apple Podcasts. Just look for my name, Dr. Kevin Malone, or the Kingdom Order Podcast. You'll find it either way on there and stuff. So again, thank you all for tuning in with us this week. We'll be back next week with a new topic, new show.
Yes.
And probably something that's going to be more heavy hitting. I'm feeling it in my spirit. So we're just going to do that. So anyways, we love you with the love of the Lord. Peace.
To equip you, ready to lead, planting the word, sowing the seed in divine alignment. We take our stand with God's power. Let's heal this land. Teach and teach, do it together. We're stronger in unity now and forever. Teach and teach, we rise as one. Walk with authority, it's just begun. Teach and teach, do it together. We're stronger in unity now and forever. Teach and teach, we rise as one. Walk with authority, it's just begun.